I'm now being arrested and handcuffed. Do you know my name, sir? You're about to find out who I am. I'm an American citizen. I'm allowed to do whatever I want to do. It will be in the national news. I just want to let you know. This will be national news.
He's arresting us.
I understand, but
For what? What have I done? I have threatened him. He's harassing you, honey. He's harassing you.
We had one too many glasses of wine, and we thought we were fine to drive, and we absolutely were not. I have no idea what I was saying that night.
Is Reese Witherspoon America's sweetheart or Hollywood's entitled brat? Her arrest video alone shows how nasty Reese can be, shouting at police officers and asking them, "Do you know who I am?" On top of that, handfuls of people have had terrible interactions with Reese. Is she really as bad as they say? Let's get into it. I have a random story for you guys about Reese Witherspoon, and it has to be one of the most embarrassing moments in celebrity history because she tried to act like all that and ended up arrested for disorderly conduct when her husband was pulled over for drinking and driving. Reese and her husband, James Toth, were arrested and briefly jailed in Atlanta after he was pulled over under suspicion of driving while intoxicated. James was facing a DUI charge after driving in the wrong lane. Reese was also arrested on disorderly conduct, according to the police report. She was handcuffed after disobeying repeated instructions from the arresting officer, who she verbally sparred. And it's not like James just had a couple of drinks. He was incredibly drunk, driving in the wrong lane with his eyes barely open. He claims he only had one drink, but he blew a .139, which is way more than just one drink. When you are a celebrity or you come from some type of privilege, you may believe you're above the law, and that's exactly how Reese acted. Before the sobriety tests began on her husband, Reese got out of the car and she was told to get back in but disobeyed. Once she got out a second time, the officer warned her she would be arrested, and then she got out again.
Ma'am, what did I just tell you to do?
I'd like to know what's going on.
He's under arrest. If you don't get that...
I'm a U.S. citizen. I'm allowed to stand on American ground. There's a question I want to ask.
Go ahead.
You better not arrest me. I'm an American citizen.
I told you to get in that car and stay in there, didn't I?
Beyond.
I told you.
Beyond.
You fight with me. I promise
This
you.
is harassment. You're harassing me as an American citizen.
Reese, the sheriff.
Hey, yes, alone.
Reese, can you please...
Disobey your orders?
Yes, you do, Reese.
Well, then I
Reese,
will not.
Reese, that's...
I'm now being arrested and handcuffed?
Yeah.
Do you know my name, sir?
Don't need to know.
You don't need to know my name?
Not quite yet.
You're about to find out who I am.
Oh, Reese, with the old, "Do you know who I am? Do you know my name?" You're gonna find out. And even though the officer did find out, it didn't change anything. Maybe because she was in Atlanta and not in LA, because in LA, all the celebrities get away. The cop claims that Reese began to hang out the window and say that she did not believe that the officer was a real police officer, and he told her to sit on her butt and to be quiet. It doesn't help that she kept asking this officer, "Do you know my name? And you're gonna be on national news." Just kept trying to flex the fact that she was a celebrity and that she had some type of upping on him, like that she could use her celebrity status against him in some way, like he's gonna be the villain here for arresting her when she's acting like this. Especially when your husband is caught drinking and driving, there's really no excuse here. It's gonna look bad. And honestly, I believe anyone who's drinking and driving, they could face attempted murder charges, because drinking and driving at this point, blowing a .139, you're driving on the road and you are considered a weapon. You are not safe to operate that vehicle, and you know exactly what you're doing.
Wow. You just arrested me. You arrested me.
Chemical test. Take the seat.
Yes, sir.
Understand me and understand me very well.
Yes, sir.
I have a job I have to do.
Yes.
I pay myself to do. My family pays me to do. And so does everyone else in Atlanta. In Georgia.
Yes.
Whenever I asked you nicely to stay in your vehicle, did I not?
Yes, sir.
Why, in God's holy name, did you get up out of there?
I felt like you were obstructing justice.
How am I obstructing justice? Do you see this?
Yes, sir.
I am sworn to uphold justice.
I'm an American citizen. I'm allowed to do whatever I want to do.
You can't get up out of the vehicle until I tell you not to.
I can say whatever I want to say.
You can say whatever you want, but you can't get up out of the vehicle.
I can do whatever I want.
Compromising my safety.
Absolutely.
And that's exactly what you did. You hindered my investigation.
That's what you think. That's your prerogative.
Because it'll all be in the report. I'm not worried.
Okay, you don't be...
You don't have anything on you I need to know about, dude.
Oh, sir. My name is Reese Witherspoon. You're arresting me for obstruction of justice. It will be in the national news. I just want to let you know.
That's fine.
I'm so glad.
Why? Why? On God's holy name, would you have gotten out of your car? You would have been able to drive.
I wanted to talk to you like a normal person would talk to a normal
But I
person.
told you not to get about the car.
Absolutely. You told me not to get out of the car. And I said to you, I disagree.
Well, that's okay.
Because that person said it was an American.
Let's go ahead and take a seat for it.
Okay, yes, sir. This will be national news. I'm letting you know.
I don't understand why celebrities like this who have money don't hire a driver or a taxi service. And they're over here threatening that this is going to be national news, like it's going to be embarrassing for the cop. It's really just going to be embarrassing for her. They were released on bond and they had no comments. They spent the night in jail and they were completely silent. They had plenty of time to reflect on what had happened. They were actually in Atlanta because Reese was shooting a project, but this definitely wasn't a great look for her career. Reese has been in some pretty big movies and they have been successful in the box office, but this moment with her husband and talent agent definitely put a damper on her career, especially when she is competing with other female actresses who aren't out here fighting with police officers and getting arrested with their drunken husband slash agent. I mean, CAA had to respond to this situation, the agency that employs her and him, because they both represent the brand.
He's arresting us.
I understand, but
For what? What have I done?
Well,
What did I do?
he told you to stop.
Just stop. Don't say anything. I'm an American citizen. I can say whatever I want to. I'm free ground. He does not have jurisdiction over the ground that he speaks on. He does not. I'm allowed to say anything I want to say. I can protest
He
it
asked
any way I
you.
want to.
He asked you to get in the car. All you should have done is let me get arrested.
Arrested for what?
A DUI. And
And
now
what did I get arrested for?
well, you wouldn't listen to what he said to do, and you kept getting out of the car. And now you've turned it into national.
What I have threatened him and put him in a position that he feels vulnerable. Honestly, come on. Come on. He's harassing you, honey. He's harassing you.
You can hear that James, even though he's completely drunk, completely understands the situation and has to explain to Reese what she should have done. And it makes me question how drunk she was in that moment. Reese has reflected on this moment and calls it embarrassing and really stupid. She said, "I clearly had one drink too many and I'm deeply embarrassed about the things I said. It was definitely a scary situation and I was frightened for my husband, but that is no excuse. I was disrespectful to the officer who was just doing his job. The words I used that night definitely do not reflect who I am. I have nothing but respect for the police and I'm very sorry for my behavior." So she's now very apologetic and listening to the officers, but I guess drunk Reese is just ruthless. Reese was quoted saying, "I said all kinds of crazy things. I had no idea what I was saying." Back then we didn't have body cam footage, but we did have dash cam footage and it picked up every single moment, which ended up all over the headline. So Reese had to explain herself.
2 weeks ago, it's a Friday morning, I think, you and your husband are arrested. He's charged with DUI. You're charged with disorderly conduct. What happened?
It's one of those nights, you know, we went out to dinner in Atlanta and we had one too many glasses of wine and we thought we were fine to drive and we absolutely were not. And it's just completely unacceptable and we are so sorry and embarrassed and we know better and we shouldn't have done
You
that.
thought you were okay. That's why you didn't. I mean, a lot of people wondering, why didn't you call a car service, call a cab?
Absolutely. And, you know, it's just poor judgment. And I think, you know, we made a mistake and it is something that absolutely never happen again. Just bad judgment, you know?
This doesn't sound like the Reese Witherspoon most of us know.
I know, I agree. I have no idea what I was saying that night. I saw him arresting my husband and I literally panicked. And I said all kinds of crazy things. I told him I was pregnant. I'm not pregnant. I said crazy things. And if you only hear me laughing because I have no idea what I was talking about. And I am so sorry. I was so disrespectful to him. And I have police officers in my family. I work with police officers every day. I know better. I think I played a lawyer in a movie so many times. I think I am a lawyer. And clearly I'm not a lawyer because I got arrested.
Reese ended up pleading no contest to her charges and her husband pled guilty. It's nice that she can make light of the situation, but it's still scary that she can get to that point. I mean, even lying about being pregnant, it just doesn't doesn't make sense. In a conversation with Jamila on her podcast, she was actually praised for how she took accountability. Reese acknowledges that it was really dumb, but she had to go out there and explain herself as a human being, which I can respect. I mean, we do mess up sometimes, and you guys see that a lot of people in Hollywood, they don't take accountability, but I think it's a different thing for women versus men. Sometimes I think women are pressured even further to go and issue these apologies, while some men just act like nothing had happened. Yet Reese did take ownership of the situation, and it probably did help her in the long run.
But I definitely say sorry when I mess up.
Yes, you do. I remember watching.
I'm accountable for
I
it.
watched a video of you once having to make an apology on Good Morning America for some sort of incident that we don't need to get into now. But you apologized and shamed yourself in a way that was so refreshing to me. You were like,
but I did something really stupid.
No, I know.
Like,
I loved your apology. It was just like, I shouldn't have done that. Everything I did was wrong. I take full responsibility. No one should ever do this. I'm really embarrassed, and I'll never do it again.
it was so embarrassing and dumb.
Well, you survived. You're fine. You're surviving.
But
You're thriving.
you know what? Turns out I breathe air. I bleed the same way. I make dumb decisions. I make great decisions. I'm just a human being, you know?
Because Reese has received some praise for this, she's actually been able to save herself. Some people argue that this moment could have helped her career in different ways. One celebrity analyst says that she's always come across humble and sugary sweet, but she's now left some fans with a sour taste in their mouths. One incident like this won't damage her good girl image permanently, but if more incidents like this occur, she may lose the love and support of fans. And looking into Reese's history, it does seem like she drinks quite often, and maybe a little bit too much, because people around her are noticing and they're talking about her.
One of my favorite moments in pop culture history was when Reese Witherspoon got pulled over for a DUI and was like, "Do you know who I am?" So on that note, I have a Reese Witherspoon blind item from 2017 that is so funny. This A+ list mostly movie actress has slowly built a side gig, which seems to be doing really well. Our actress had a bit of booze the other night and was trying to ride the outside of a glass elevator. And that was her after the Dolly Parton concert. I mean, relatable.
Clearly, Reese is under a lot of pressure, and that leads to some instability in her life, whether it's her drinking or her behavior. She actually admitted to a major meltdown on the set of Big Little Lies. She admits to having a big breakdown because she was overworked, and there were so many consecutive days of shooting that she was exhausted. She shares about a moment where she just couldn't hold it in any longer. She was on her 7th day of shooting. They were preparing for this, and she just had an all-out breakdown.
We were on our 7th day of night shoots, and I was losing my mind. And they kept saying, okay, we're going to do the scene where you have the breakdown, and you tell Shailene that you've cheated on your husband, but we're not going to do it today. We ran out of time. We're going to do it tomorrow. I'm like, okay. We came in, and we had to do the titles. He out of nowhere told us to do the title sequence. I just couldn't do it. And they called us to set, and they said, no, just one more minute. I started to scream, and I've never screamed like this, like howling, like I need to get this out.
So Reese had some support in that moment, but there have been other times where she wasn't supported. Like, for example, there was a moment where she slammed stars who made intimate tapes. Reports write that Paris Hilton and Kim Kardashian might have been blushing as they watched Reese Witherspoon at the MTV Movie Awards. While accepting her MTV Generation Award, she slammed other stars who have appeared in intimate tapes and who have released nude photos, telling them that they should be ashamed of themselves. And it's definitely not the SEX positive energy we're used to nowadays. She really was just using her moment accepting this award to trash other celebrities who have had these tapes released. And while I understand her core message, I just don't think that this was the place or really the time to deliver it.
I just want to say to all the girls out there, like, I know it's cool to be bad, but it's also possible to make it in Hollywood without a reality show. And when I came to this business, you made a take, you were embarrassed and you hid it under your bed. If you took naked pictures of yourself on your cell phone, you hide your face, people. Like, hide your face.
Did you hear what Reese Witherspoon said at the MTV Awards tonight?
I did not. We were eating here.
Again, I understand she's trying to make jokes and maybe make light of this and send a good message, but it's also giving very mean energy. And I like how Kim just didn't even hear what she had to say. But maybe Reese isn't that nice. Actually, her stepmother claims that she's awful and disrespectful. This woman named Trisha Ann married Reese Witherspoon's father, John, and she claims the day that she married James Toth back in 2011, Reese was incredibly abusive to her own father, John. Trisha Ann actually married John, Reese's father, while he was still married to Reese's mother, Betty. I don't know how that works. And she insists that Reese isn't that sweet and not an innocent girl, not what everyone thinks she is, and that she was so awful and disrespectful to her father. But I mean, also, if this woman's marrying my father while he's still married to my mother, that's someone I probably wouldn't be that kind to. She says that Reese shows little respect to her father, and he's been ostracized by her because she's so angry that he married me. Well, I mean, maybe you're the evil stepmother and she's then the evil stepdaughter. Trisha Ann actually had comments on Reese's behavior in those arrest videos, saying, based on Reese's behavior in those police videos following her recent arrest, I believe she has a serious drinking problem and needs to get professional help.
For some odd reason, I've always had a feeling of her not being genuinely kind, like she always puts off. And I was right, because a decade ago, my mom and my dad were at a dinner in Beverly Hills somewhere, and this is like a place where a lot of celebrities frequent, and so my mom was opening up the bathroom door and was walking out, and she had accidentally bumped shoulders with somebody, and the lady pushed my mom and said, "Don't touch me. Do you know who I am?" And my mom was looking at her like, "Yeah, I'm so sorry. It's so small here. I didn't mean to." It took my mom a minute to realize, like when she had walked back to the table, like, this was Reese Witherspoon. I did know who she was. And my mom was so disappointed because Home Sweet Home Alabama, what's the movie? Was one of her like first English movies that she could understand. And she'd always have like a sweet soft spot for Reese Witherspoon. When she got back to the table, she told her girlfriends like, "Yeah, you'll never believe who I saw in the bathroom." And they were like, "Who?" And she goes, "Reese Witherspoon. Oh, she was so mean." And all of her friends like, "La Angèle, like, why would you say that? Reese Witherspoon's like America's sweetheart."
Maybe Reese isn't America's sweetheart. Supposedly, she did a morning show at some point with Jennifer Aniston, and Reese was allegedly cruel to the crew. Reese Witherspoon is allegedly not friendly to the crew working with her on set, an anonymous source claims. She doesn't smile to anyone on set or welcome them or say hello. She just completely ignores their existence. Reese has been in the industry a while, but a smile here and there to the crew working their butts off on a movie wouldn't hurt. The insider added that she won't even share an 8-station hair and makeup trailer with anyone else, even big celebrities. She has to have her own. I once did a shoot with her and she found out her co-star had a toaster in her trailer and Reese didn't, so we had to go out and buy her a toaster that she never used for the 3-day shoot. It just sounds like a terrible case of an entitled celebrity.
So I have thought that Reese Witherspoon is sus for a really long time, and I would not be shocked if that was true. Other thing is years ago, I heard on Heather McDonald's podcast, I heard Chris Frangiola talk about her, and he told a story of a time that she was on Chelsea Lately, and she had to do like some skit with them. They would do like skits that were like in addition to the interviews. And she was just like not very nice to work with, didn't really want to do it, you know, probably felt like it was above her. And at the end, like she said something really condescending, like, "I can't believe you do this for work," or something. And I remember just being like, yeah, she is just not, she has no chill. She's like, takes herself so seriously, not into it.
Obviously, being a kind person gets you a long ways, and people are going to collect their stories over the years, talk about you, and you'll end up having a bad reputation because you're a bad person to others. So I hope Reese really isn't that bad, but from what we've seen, it seems like she's a little egotistical, a little bit entitled, and a typical celebrity out here. But I want to hear what you guys think in the comments below, and I'll see you in a new one soon. Bye, guys.